Welcome everybody to Too Legit to Crit.
Still love that
Episode
name.
3. Still love the name, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got some feedback on the name. In one of the Discords that I posted it, I said, oh yeah, there you go, there's episode 2. And the feedback wasn't on the episode itself.
Just,
It was
just on the
name. Which was all good. So, yeah. That means we did good, Justin.
I think we did the right thing.
So this is episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Third date. You know what that means?
Hey.
Yeah, I have shaved my legs.
Time for me to show you what's under the covers.
Oh, can't wait. What have you been up to?
So I've been 3D printing some more stuff. I've been, because obviously, as I said in the last episode, I got my new 3D printer. So I've been firing that basically non-stop since it arrived. I've now got a frame and the first layer of a ship printed. It's currently printing now again while we're recording. In the other room, I'm printing a bunch of wooden rope bridges and stuff like that, which will make the sort of dungeon crawly, cave crawling things a bit more fun, because you've got those little like suspension rope bridges that I can put between rock features and stuff like that, which would be pretty cool. And yeah, just kind of been, I had a few people around the other night to put the new table to the test.
How did it go?
Really well. It went really well. So we didn't run a session or anything, because it was very last minute. I was literally sitting at home with nothing to do. I dropped them a message like, hey, you guys free? And they're like, yes. And I was like, do you want to come around and we can test the stuff out? And they're like, yes. So what we did was we loaded up I got essentially a map of like a Colosseum type arena.
Okay, yeah.
And then we all just built 10th level characters and had some fun. We just kind of, I had 11 sort of gladiatorial combat-y type creatures that came with my Loot Studio package, which is a Colosseum themed. So we had 11 of them in there. So we just rolled a d12 and we fought that creature one-on-one. And we basically just went through those, where essentially the way we ran it was, after each fight, you'd get all your spell slots and stuff back, but you wouldn't heal any hit points, just to kind of see who could last the longest. And then when we got right to the end and we'd gone through all the creatures, we had a little bit of a 4-way free-for-all in the middle of the Colosseum. It was pretty good. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. I mean, that does sound like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good way of testing out the new equipment, and how was the response to that? Was it positive?
Oh, they loved it. They all loved it. One of my players actually works in like a window fitting company, so he's actually taken measurements of the screen, and he's going to get me some perspex cut for it, so we can actually protect the screen as well, which was on my list of things to do, but I hadn't really wanted to price it up or anything, because I know perspex can be quite expensive, but he's going to sort me out. So
that's wise. That's definitely wise. So you're gonna scratch the TV to fuck.
Yes. Especially like, you got the plastic bases and stuff like that on your minis and things like that. It could cause damage very quickly.
Yeah.
Especially like, even if you like drop something like accidentally, especially with like some of the bigger terrain pieces I've got, like the ship, for example, if I was to drop that ship on there, that's going to cause some damage. But yeah, so the perspex will hopefully protect it a little bit. But yeah, no, it was a resounding success. Everybody loved it, and it worked really well, because you can even link up. So I got to experiment a little bit more with that software that I mentioned. That's going to be kind of running the TV for me.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, because you can even put things like background music into it and things like that. So and then obviously, because it's running through a TV's got speakers in it, so it's playing out the TV and everything. I don't have to worry about having like those atmospheric sounds playing on a third device over there, and it just kind of centralizes everything a little bit for me, which is quite nice.
Cool. I mean, that does actually sound really awesome, and I'm glad it's kind of working out for you.
Yeah.
Sweet. I haven't really been up to much. I only played one of my games this week. I wasn't feeling massively great for the game yesterday, but pretty standard. Played a game, killed a character.
That
So,
sounds about right. Sounds
yeah.
about right. Yep.
It was. I don't think I'm the most popular GM in the world
I
right
wouldn't
now.
say that. You're one of my favorite GMs.
Thank you, sweetheart. But yeah,
I mean, I've only really played with like 4 GMs, so it doesn't really say much. But
Hey,
you're in the top 4.
I will take that. I will take that and wear it like a badge of honor.
No, I'd say you're comfortably 1 or 2. I would say that's where you sit. 1 or 2.
I mean, that really warms my cold, dead heart. So yeah, the character died. And I feel worse about it because I kind of called it on the show. And
was it at least a glorious death?
It was.
That's all right then.
Let's just say that certain decisions were made by the party that didn't kind of go in their favor. And yeah, there was a definite casualty. But I also called it during the game as well that someone was going to die. So it makes it seem like I did it on purpose.
Although you say that, but you threaten killing a character every single session if memory serves.
That is my logic. Every single session I run, I will make a quip about killing some character.
It's like your opening line when you sit down. It's like you sit down, get everything out, start. Right, let's kill some characters.
Yeah, I mean, even in the society games where they're just okay. So how's everyone doing? I'm going to be your GM. I hope you're attached to your characters
because some of y'all are going to die.
It's going to make the loss even harsher. So but then I kind of wonder why I get this reputation.
Can't imagine why. It's a mystery. It really is.
I think what hit them the hardest was the character that died was trying to rescue an NPC at the time, and I was like,
"Oh, brutal!"
And it was an area of effect that kind of ultimately put the character down. It's like, oh Jesus, I hope the NPC doesn't die.
You're worried about the wrong one.
I was worried about my NPC.
No, I know. I meant them.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so that's what happened this week. But we play these games for this reason. We play these games in order to kill characters and watch your friends hate you for a bit.
See, I've never really got upset when I've had a character death because 99% of the time when I've had a character die, it's because I did something that led to it. So I can't really feel bad. Like one of my most recent character deaths was one of my half-orc barbarians.
Right.
No, it was a Goliath barbarian. Tell a lie. And his whole thing was that he had been essentially called weak by his clan. And then he lost a fight. So then he proved he was weak essentially by doing that. So he was out in the world to try and prove that he wasn't weak. And whilst in a cave, somebody in the party opened a door in the cave, and behind the door was another cave, on the other side of the mountain, essentially, that had trolls in it. Now, the player that opened the door saw that there were 3 trolls. We were second level or first level, maybe third level. We're very early on in our career, basically. But when he ran away and ran past us, all he shouted was, "Troll, singular." Now, of course, this Goliath barbarian went, trolls are strong. Beating a troll would prove I'm strong. So he ran the other way and went charging through this door and into the hands of 3 trolls. And the rest of the party went, nope. So he died. I can't be angry. That's what he would have done in that situation. And the rest of the party did exactly what they should have done in that situation. But it was quite funny, though, because they all felt horrible after. I was like, I'm so sorry, but we just couldn't. I was like, no, you guys did fine. That's exactly what you should have done. You should not go running into a room with 3 trolls. He's just a moron and that's what he would do. It's fine. I don't care that you let him die. And they just couldn't. They just kept on like, oh, but no, you're good. Like he deserved to die for that.
I had something. I mean, I won't say similar because it wasn't stupidity that did it, but one of the Pathfinder conventions I was playing at. I mentioned it in last episode that I had a bard who died in literally the first room of a dungeon.
Yes.
And I walked in, and I think it was fighting some oozes or something, and they fucked me. The dice weren't going in my favor.
Yeah.
And it was
I feel that.
Pathfinder First Edition, where a few unlucky dice rolls are enough to do you in, and it died, and he died. And, you know, it kind of sucked that I was going to spend the next few hours just sat at the table with nothing to do. But it was everyone else was coming up to me and kind of going, "Are you all right?" Like, yes, yeah, I'm fine. It's not exactly like it's a campaign character.
Yes,
it is it's a society character which are built for a series of one shots. So
yeah,
I found it hard to have that sort of same emotional attachment. But they help kind of pull together and spend some of their own resources just to resurrect me. And it was like, you didn't, like, honestly, you genuinely did not have to do that. It's appreciated, it really is. But it's like, I kind of felt bad for them. But it's a game at the end of the day, and characters are going to die.
Yeah, but I think also as well though, like that experience that we both had just kind of highlights one of the reasons that I think we both kind of love this whole community as well, is because even something like that where we didn't really care in that situation, they still, like, both of these different groups, right? They still kind of felt the need to feel bad for that happening. And that's kind of one of the things I really like about, this whole community, is that there are those good eggs out there that just care that you're having fun and that you're not enjoying it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the good eggs certainly outweigh the bad eggs in this.
Yes,
in this
absolutely.
Hobby. Don't get me wrong, there are some proper dicks out there.
I mean, yeah, but you're going to get that in anything, let's be honest.
But it's the balance of it is so one-sided towards like the inclusivity and the friendliness and the openness.
Exactly that, yeah.
And which is when I'm dealing with new players and there's a bit of apprehension of, I don't know how to. It's like, just come along, and let people know that you are new to this. Let people know that this is your first time, and you will find an almost overwhelming amount of support. And it's amazing. It's something that I don't really encounter that often anymore.
No, I think it's in. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are still gatekeepers out there in this community. Like, they exist, but I genuinely feel like it's one of the least gate kept communities that I've ever come across. It's one of the few places where, like you say, if you tell people, hey, I'm new, I don't really understand this, they will go out of their way to teach you and help you find the way that works for you. And I just think that's really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, it's something that I try and carry forward as well. Whenever I encounter a new player or anything like that, it's we are here to kind of shepherd these
next generation.
I would say next generation. We've only been doing this 8 years, dude. I don't think we've got the right to talk like that right now.
Well, no, we are the next generation. We are the
next generation. We are the current generation.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to hand over the mantle just yet. So,
But you say that. We've been doing it for 8 years, dude. Like, we still consider ourselves really new, but at the same time, we're also really not.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it genuinely does seem like yesterday was the first time I read the Pathfinder Cold War book.
Yeah.
It does feel so recent, but then I kind of look at it and kind of go, right, not only am I constantly GMing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm designing my own maps. I've got a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a Pathfinder venture agent for the city that we live in. And yeah, those 8 years, let's just say they've been somewhat productive.
Do you know what I think it is? I think the reason that because I was actually thinking about this today, because I was actually talking to somebody today about D&D and stuff like that. And I think the reason that I still feel like I'm very new to this hobby is it's not because obviously you've got some people who have been playing it for 20, 30, 40 years. It's not because of just how long they've been around and, and we're a drop in the ocean to that or anything like that. I genuinely think it's because to this day, 8 years in, I still, every time I go through one of the core rule books or one of the supplements since or anything like that, or any of the new like books that are about, I'm always looking and going, I never thought of doing something that way before. And there's always that new way of looking at things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is something that until I kind of stepped away from being the Pathfinder fanboy that I was when I initially started.
No comment.
To trying out other systems and like very different systems as well. It's not like I went from Pathfinder to D&D. I went from Pathfinder to fucking Rollmaster or Pathfinder to Traveler, and all these systems which were insanely different, and seeing the mechanics that were put in place by these other systems has helped me in my Pathfinder games.
Yeah.
Kind of bring some of those elements along, even if it's just in spirit.
Yeah.
And it's a learning experience, and we're always going to be learning because there's always going to be new systems to play.
Yeah. And I think that's what kind of helps keep things fresh is unless you do, like me to a degree, where I've since obviously starting in Pathfinder and then moving across to 5e, I've been very one system focused. We've discussed this already, and it's something that I'm looking to branch out of, this year and next definitely, and kind of experiment with a few new systems like you've been doing as well. But it's one of those things that's never going to be not an option. You're never going to run out of systems to learn or to try or to find something that fits you, and I think that is the key is finding something that fits you well and that you feel comfortable in. And even then there's just no end to what you can learn and what you can accomplish with that as well, which is really, really cool.
Agreed. There is such a wide sort of selection.
Yeah.
And even in the systems themselves, there are like multiple subsystems. I mean, I've mentioned it multiple times, but the Cypher system.
Yeah.
It's a system, it's not a setting. So within Cypher, you can play Vert, which is a cyberpunk sort of setting with virtual reality elements.
Yeah.
Then I'm trying to remember the names of these, and memory isn't my greatest asset. I think there's Gods of the Fallen or something along those lines, where you play basically prototype gods in a world where the original gods have fallen.
Sounds pretty cool, actually.
It really does. I'm contemplating it.
I mean, the like a similar thing to that I've played a few different variations on is like the Age system. So like Fantasy Age, Titan's Grave was built using it as well. Dragon Age, tabletop version was built using that system as well, which is also like it's something that again that we touched on in the first episode about games that are accessible for younger people as well.
Yeah.
I feel like any of the Age systems, and I don't know why I didn't think of this at the time, would be really good because it is literally just 3d6. That's all you need. The whole game runs on 3d6. And let's be honest, like 3d6 is something that everybody has in their house. Like, you think about how many board games, like just standard board games people have, like Monopoly and stuff like that, that have like a D6 in them. You can just scrape 3d6 together and you can play this system. Like, it's very, very simple.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is something that I was just thinking about when you were saying about the, you know, one kind of rule set branching out across different systems and game styles and things like that. And that's definitely one, because, you know, Titan's Grave, I don't know if you've ever seen Titan's Grave.
No, I don't think I have.
It was really, really cool. It was like a cyberpunky type system that, and we've mentioned him quite a few times on this podcast already, that Will Wheaton was actually doing a series on, where he was doing like a play through with it. And it was, I've played it. It's a really, really cool system. And it was really, really interesting because it just kind of, it brings an element that I haven't really experienced much of to the table, which was really cool. But yeah, the age system is similar in that regard, that it kind of, there's so many different pies in that particular oven that you could just with the age system, you can experience everything. It's really cool.
I'll have to check that out. So this is a bit of an awkward one for us because we're actually going to have to do some work.
Yeah.
I mean, episode 1, we had Scott on. That filled a chunk of time.
It did.
Episode 2, we were going back and forth about the name, so that filled a chunk of time.
Yep.
This one, we've actually had to, you know, kind of have a discussion during the week and kind of
be on the internet.
Yeah, what the fuck are we going to talk about? Yeah, well, there's nothing, we don't have anything to lean on this week.
We don't have a crutch.
We don't. Oh man, it's shocking.
Yep.
So I did have a look and kind of went through some of the news that's come about, and I picked 4 things that we can quickly go over.
Yes.
We're not going to really delve too deep into them because we are far from being an authority, but maybe. You know, maybe we can discuss a couple of things about them and just kind of see where that lands us. So the first bit of news was something that popped up on my... let's bring it up. Something that popped up on one of my Facebook feeds, and it was that once it actually decides to load, because my internet has decided it's going to be shit for a bit.
I mean, that sounds about right.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, yeah. I mean, this was actually quite big. This news, and is the first draft of the Orc license. Was released on April the 7th for public comment.
Yes.
So, for those of you who somehow don't know, when Wizards of the Coast did their how to put this delicately,
their thing. We'll just go with the thing.
They did their thing, and they said their thing.
People will know. And
you know,
the whole community went no.
Yeah. You know. When Wizards of the Coast, let's just say, showed their true colours, there was a lot of response. There was a lot of backlash, and different sort of entities and companies in this hobby responded in different ways. And Paizo, along with a multitude of different publishers, came out and basically said, "You know what? We're going to do our own license. It's going to be essentially what the OGL was meant to be, and it's not going to be owned by anyone. It's going to be irrevocable, and you know." And they actually have produced the sort of first draft of it, which, you know, I've gone over, but I don't really kind of speak the right language to understand the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, we're not lawyers.
No, and that actually reminds me of a comment I saw on the post, and it was some dude going, "Oh, it's too wordy and it's full of legal speak." It's like, Well, it's a
It's
legal
almost like it's a
document,
legal document. Yeah,
you
funny
fucking
that.
doorstop.
Funny that.
Uh,
How dare that? How dare that legal document be full of legal technical terms? How dare it?
No, this holy text is a bit preachy for my liking.
That sounds like something that one of your characters would say.
Yeah, true, that would be. This kid's book is a bit too immature.
That does not sound like something your characters would say.
No, definitely not. I'd be like, this is awesome.
This kid's book is spot on.
This kid's book rocks. You should read it. That's fuck it. That's what I would say. Let alone my
Yeah, I know.
characters, dude.
True.
So yeah, it has been released, and just kind of breezing over the comments. There was some division with some people going, "Why didn't you go with Creative Commons? Why didn't you go with this?" Again, not really my place to comment because I've got no fucking clue.
Yep.
But I think it's definitely interesting to me because the positive that's come out of this whole debacle is that it is kind of loosened the hold that Wizards of the Coast had on the hobby. One of my pet peeves is when people equate tabletop role playing to D&D. When people say, "Oh, we're going to play D&D," and they're playing fucking Powered by the Apocalypse, it's like, no, you're not playing D&D. You're playing a tabletop role playing game.
Yeah, see, for me, the same. I have a similar thing, but with and this is because of a company that I used to work for. But a big thing in the UK is people calling vacuum cleaners Hoovers.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. I'm like, no, that's a brand name. Because I used to work for a competitor of theirs, and that was something that would get you fired if you called them Hoovers.
Could you just get away with it by calling them schmoovers?
This is a schmoover. It moves the shit around your house.
There you go. Dude, I think we actually came up with a fucking brand name for.
I think we just did. Yeah, we just did.
Yeah, write it down.
Let's.
Schmoovers. Coming soon to
coming schmoon
to a market stall near you.
To a white van near you.
To a dodgy white van.
But yeah, back to the topic at hand, because I can hear all our listeners going, that's not tabletop related. I know, I agree. Like it is something, even as a D&D player, because I am a D&D player, right? And I say that in the truest sense of the word, because I pretty much exclusively play D&D. It bugs me as well when people are like, "Oh yeah, I play D&D," and I'm like, "Oh, do you play 5e?" And they're like, "Oh no, I play some other system that isn't D&D." I'm like, "Well, then you don't play D&D."
I mean, some of the arguments that I've heard in when I've brought it up, and I've kind of winced at someone saying, "Oh, we're going to go play D&D." It's like, no, you're playing fucking Pathfinder. Some of the arguments is, "Oh, because that's easier to explain." Look, don't make it easy to explain.
Yeah.
Make it correct.
Yeah.
I hate to be pedantic, but explain something right the first time around.
Like, that's the thing, though. I don't see that as being pedantic. I see that as just being factual, right?
Yeah.
But then again, I am labeled a very pedantic person by most of our friends.
Me.
And you as well.
I call you pedantic.
You do call me pedantic. But I mean, okay, I am pedantic. Like, I'm just going to put it out there. I am a very pedantic person. But that's why I hate when people use the word pedantic wrong. But that's just me being pedantic. But and I recognize the irony in that.
So that was one thing. Another company that kind of responded to the OGL debacle. Bring up my notes again. So I mean, at least I had that kind of semi-prepared. Was it Cobalt Press?
Yes.
Big player in this industry.
Yes.
It's done so much third-party content for 5e, third-party content for Pathfinder. Very good
very good stuff.
as well.
Yeah.
Their response to the whole OGL thing was, right, we're going to develop our own system.
Yes.
Which they initially referred to as Project Black Flag, which
Yes.
in of itself, great fucking name.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, if you want to spark interest in something, Project Black Flag will definitely get me.
That'll yeah. I'm gonna click
Yeah.
that link. I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
click that link.
100%. So they have now given it an official title, and again, these guys naming shit are very good. Tales of the Valiant.
Ooh.
Oh, it does create that response, doesn't it?
Oh,
It's
it
like,
does.
Ooh, I'm intrigued at that. Yeah, Tales of the Valiant. From what I gather, I think they are kind of sticking to the 5e rule set.
Yes, from what I could read on that as well. Because I before I didn't read about the latest thing with them coming up with a name, but I did read about it back in I think it was back in February sort of time. And yeah, it by the sounds of it, I think they're trying to keep 5e, like they're embracing the sort of 5e mechanics as at its core, but making improvements that the player base has been crying out for and stuff as well. So it looks like it's going to be a best of both worlds situation where we get the 5e goodness that us 5e players love, but maybe some of the other elements that people like yourself who aren't too keen on 5e might give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, just for the name alone.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be giving that a go.
That has already got me reaching for my wallet.
Yes.
Like, where is it? Where's that card gone? But yeah.
Where did I leave my debit card?
Yeah. I may have hidden it for some reason. I don't know why.
It's like, what is my PayPal login?
But yeah, so just Tales of the Valiant. I mean,
that is a good name.
It's a very good fucking name.
Do you know who we should have got to name the podcast? Them.
Yeah, but would they have come up with Too Legit to Crit?
No, probably not.
I know the name that's got overwhelming response.
Yeah,
more than the actual show itself. So
yep, that's true. People like the name more than the show.
They say don't judge a book by its cover, but please
judge this one by the cover.
Judge this one by the cover, not the content. Shit.
We know that.
If you've already listened this far, fair play. But
seek help.
We peaked at naming this fucking thing. After that, it's just gone downhill.
Oh, it was downhill. We literally shot up and then downhill.
That was it. Yeah. Once we got the name, it's like, so we're done here, yeah? Okay, let me have a look. What else have we got? This is one that will be of interest to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Free League.
Yes.
The gaming company that just seems to smash out award after award after award. They are bringing their One Ring game to 5e.
Yes.
Which I think's bold. I think that's quite a bold move, especially because the system that they normally use, which I think it's Year Zero or something along those lines. It's very different. It's a very different system. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of adaptation to turn it into 5e. I
look forward to playing it.
I bet you are. And do you know what I find? Do you know what I find quite interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Tolkien estate owns the name Hobbit.
Yes.
So that's why in our sort of games,
it's halfling.
It's halfling and
yeah.
But with this, they're kind of bringing hobbits back to the game.
Yay!
You're
gonna have hobbits.
We're gonna have hobbits.
Hobbitses.
So yeah, I think that's actually quite interesting, and I wish them all the best.
Well, I will definitely be picking that up and either running / playing, depending on whether I can find someone else to run it. Because let's be honest, if you can find somebody else to run, you do. So yeah, I mean, obviously, once I've got a bit hands-on with it, I will probably be talking about it on here quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings for me is one of those properties where love the book, wasn't massively sold on the movies, and I know people are sharpening their pitchforks as I say that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm currently reading the Hobbit with my boy, and we will then go on to Lord of the Rings and go through the book again. So I am interested. I am interested to see how the game plays out, because I've not actually tried the Year Zero version yet.
Yeah. I mean, well, what we could do then is once that is done and out, you are more than welcome to come sit at my table and play it.
I will definitely take you up on that.
Done.
And okay, so another bit of news.
Yes.
If I can find out where the fuck I'm at. There is more Paizo news.
Yes.
As soon as I find it.
As you can tell, we are very, very prepared here, folks.
We are fucking professionals.
Top-notch production right here.
Oh yes, of course. I'll just Paizo has partnered with Alchemy RPG, which I have only just started looking into since the announcement, and it is another virtual tabletop. I don't know how it differs from Foundry, which is what I'm used to playing on, or even Roll20 or anything like that. But yeah, they seem to be quite excited about it. So I have actually created an account for Alchemy, and as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to give it a go. If it's something worth talking about, we probably will.
Yeah.
You know, we can't.
Even if it's not something worth talking about, we're probably going to talk about it.
And probably drag it on for an hour because we need shit to talk about.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, questions. Send us fucking questions.
Yes, all the questions.
Give us work to do, for fuck's sake.
Yes. Stop making us do work.
Yeah, exactly. Just, you know. Okay. Yeah, so that is the kind of news that we...
Our news roundup.
Yeah. So...
Speaking of questions,
yes.
See that little transition there? That was smooth.
Segue. That is a segue.
That was a clean segue.
I was in one place and all of a sudden I'm in another. Like,
exactly.
How did that happen?
So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I do with character creation. Because I know that it's something that I've always struggled with, and I know that you know that I've always struggled with it when creating characters, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one out there that struggles with this sort of thing with character creation. Is the core mechanics of games I always pick up really quick, right? The math side of things and how the interactions work and all that sort of thing. Mechanically, I always pick up very quickly. The parts I've always struggled with is creating a character and really getting into the mindset of that character, right? It's something that I've and even just writing stuff that's not like the cliched, oh, this is Dave, their parents died when he was 6 and then he was raised in this, you know, that classic cliche rogue backstory that, you know, that everybody has done at some point, I'm sure.
You know, somebody right now is listening to this whilst typing up a backstory and kind of
called out.
Oh.
But yeah, but even then, right? Even if I wrote those sort of those cliched stories that everybody has seen or has done or all those sorts of things, I would always still struggle to react the way that they would, or think about how they would interact with this particular person or that particular person or in this situation. So what I've kind of developed over the last 8 years that we've been doing this is some questions that I ask, not myself, but I ask the character as such. Like it's kind of like an interview that I give to the character once I've built them out mechanically and kind of got the concept in my head of what I want them to be, kind of, just to kind of help me get into their headspace. So it's I mean, how many questions does it? Give me a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
75.
7, 8, 9. It's only 9 questions, right?
Fair enough.
And it's just kind of stuff that just helps me in those RP scenarios to be them rather than me.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what do they want? Like,
Okay.
just in life, what do they want? What is their, not like their like driving force, but something that they would quite like, you know? The next one is their driving force.
Let's just back this up a second. I think
Yes,
let's turn this into an activity. All right.
let's do it.
I'm thinking of one of my characters. Right. Okay.
Cool.
I will answer those questions. And do you want to know my character? Do you want me to tell you about my character, or do you want me to just answer?
Let's go with the character name, race, and class.
Let's do that. Okay.
And then we'll go through the questions, we'll see how fleshed out that character sounds by the end of it.
All right. So bear in mind, this is a society character that I threw together. But his name is John Bovey.
Love it.
All right. He is a human. He is a human with Aasimar heritage.
Interesting.
And he is a bard with the gunslinger archetype.
Love it. And what does he want?
He wants fame again.
Okay.
He was famous back in his home country of Taldor. And he just kind of disappeared off the map. So he was famous in the 80s sort of thing. 80s, early 90s, and then
now he's trying to make his comeback.
Now he's trying to make his comeback in a different sort of way.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
And what does he need?
He needs recognition.
Right.
He definitely needs recognition. When I introduce him to like, because when you're in a society game, you introduce your characters because you've never played with some of these people before.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll get one of them. I'll just get a piece of paper and kind of go, "What's your name?" And I'll basically write and do an autograph for them. They're like, to my biggest fan, John Bovey, and I just hand them the piece of paper.
I love that. Right, and then just some personality traits. So just I normally try and write down like just 3 or 4 personality traits that they would have.
Delusional.
Yeah, I can see that.
Arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Narcissistic.
Perfect.
So me, basically.
The next one, this is the big one for me. These next 2 are the ones that really help me a lot. Is how do they think? So like when they're approaching a problem, what is their thought process?
Oh, that's a good. Oh, yeah, you're actually going to make me think.
Exactly.
Oh, they would probably think like their solution would be the correct one.
Even if it's wrong, it's right.
But they're never wrong.
Exactly.
You know, that's
okay.
This is what we should do, sort of thing.
Okay. And then the next one, very similar sort of vein, is how do they feel? So like what kind of, you know how like some people are just naturally more angry and aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Some people are naturally more kind of calm and docile. So what is their like kind of natural state, and how quickly do they switch between them?
His natural state is the celebrity persona. So that has become his natural state. So it's always quite upbeat. It's always quite empowering to others.
Yeah.
Because, you know, whether he kind of feels that really himself, but that is 9 times out of 10 how you're going to find him.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. The next one, a couple of big events from their life.
A couple of big events was probably
when he headlined Reading back in.
Yeah, it was going to be something along the lines of like a big concert that he did.
big show he did.
That was probably one of them.
The day he lost it all would probably be another one.
Yeah, the day that he realized that
Yeah.
that his fame had gone, and he didn't. It's not like he lost it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it was kind of like
He
a
just kind of
gradual.
woke up one day and kind of went, "Huh, well, that sucks." Um,
It was. He went into a coffee shop and like they asked for his name, and he was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah."
do you know who I am?
No. What's your name? I need it for the cup.
So yeah, that was that realization.
Okay.
I think there was probably at some point some, battle with substance abuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Getting clean was
Yeah.
a big step for him.
Maybe that's where he's been, and that's why he's got to come back and make his comeback.
Yeah, I mean,
He was gone for too long while he was getting clean.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Any quirks that they might have?
He's very particular about his appearance. He appears disheveled, but it's done on purpose.
Right.
And anything that kind of interferes with that status quo kind of throws him.
Okay. This next one is one of my favorites. Any pet peeves that they have?
People not recognizing him. 100.
Yep.
That is
I had a feeling that's where you're going.
like, people not recognizing him or not liking his music because fuck it, it's John Bovey. Everybody likes John Bovey.
Absolutely. And I feel like this last one you've actually kind of already answered just by his personality and things like that. And that's what I kind of love about this is by the time you get to this one, this question becomes dead simple. Are they an introvert or an extrovert?
Easy. Extrovert all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very unlike me.
But those are the 9 questions that I kind of ask of every character that I create. Because it just kind of, it helps you very, very quickly realize who they are, what they're about, and how they would react in a certain situation. Like myself, for example, personally, when I get to the how they think question, I think very logically, right? I've got a very logical thought process for things. So 9 times out of 10, that's the bit where I'm going to have to go out of my comfort zone, right? Is that how they think element? Because unless I'm playing something like a wizard, right? Because wizards, they're very logical beings. They study this magic art that they do, and it's all very learned and all that sort of thing. Unless I'm playing a character like that, I've got to think differently. So that then becomes a sticking point for me. Like you said about that character being an extrovert, which is the opposite of you. That would then become something you then know. Okay, I'm going to have to focus really hard on being extroverted when I'm in character, right? And it not only helps you kind of get into the mindset of how this person or this being thinks and acts, but it also highlights to you, well, that's different to me. So those are the bits I need to focus on when I'm being in character. Like if like their quirks are something that you personally struggle with, then that's going to be a bit easy. Like if, for example, let's say you are somebody that has a stutter, for example, right? Yeah. Just as an example, and you write a character who also has a stutter, then that's going to be something that's a bit easier to do because it's going to kind of happen naturally. Whereas if I do it, I've then got to consciously, whenever I'm talking character, think, okay, I need to at some point stumble over words and stumble over this and things like that. But it just kind of helps you get into the right frame of mind to be that person.
No, I definitely like it, and it's something I would encourage my players to do, because for me, building characters is quite a simple process. I'll think of a concept and I will think of something that at the very least amuses me.
Yeah.
Even if it's in a silly name or something like that. But that in itself gets me sort of excited, and it gets me invested in this character and invested in what this character will do and what they will kind of bring to the table. Whereas I do know players who struggle a bit more, and what I have done in the past is when I've spoken to a player, I've basically told them to think of a song and imagine it was some sort of walkout music
Yeah.
to your character. And that helps you envision said character. So you know you want to build a fighter, right? Okay, so what sort of walkout music would that fighter have? And you go ahead and you pick a song. You'll be really surprised as to how much of your character comes together just with that simple thought process.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Character creation is, without a doubt, the backbone to this hobby. And regardless of what system you play, you're going to need a character. And the more you can get invested in that character, the more fun you're going to have at the table, and the more fun the table is going to have with you. So if your exercise helps you, which I'm sure it will, and I'm sure it will help many people out there who have similar sort of issues, then yeah, I'm all for that. And to be honest, I might actually steal that idea and for my next campaign, present it to my players and just kind of go, answer that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've honestly thought about doing, is getting like printing up like an actual kind of questionnaire sheet, like with those questions on it or similar questions, maybe wording them slightly differently or whatever, right? And just kind of handing it out as part of that session 0, because it not only helps them get more acquainted with their character, but lets you get more acquainted with their characters as well. Because let's be honest, right? Especially if you're homebrewing your whole campaign, right? Tying in those like big events from that character there or that character there is a lot easier if you've got them on paper in front of you, written the way that they want it expressed, right? It's not you making a note of something that they said, because as we've all experienced in this hobby, is the notes you take aren't necessarily how it happened, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's again something that you actually taught me very, very early on, when we were doing the Skulls and Shackles campaign, is you got us to recap instead of you recapping.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to see how we remembered it, not how you remembered it.
Yeah, and that's something that on more than one occasion I've played off.
Yeah, exactly.
Seeing how you recall.
If we remembered that we got away scot-free, you could be like, well, I know for a fact you fucking didn't. Which means we're not expecting that sneak attack to come because we think we got away clean, right?
But not only that, it's also changed the direction of the story sometimes.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I've presented you with something, and you guys have done it. We've had the encounter, or we've had the scene, etc., etc. And then in the next episode, I've listened to you guys recap it and kind of gone, oh shit, they understood it like that. Yeah. Well, okay, that kind of works.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You just kind of make those little modifications.
And I think if you get their sort of rather, and again, also it means that they're not writing you like a 20-page fucking novel for their character's backstory, which, let's be honest, most DMs, if you write them a 20-page backstory, they're like, yeah, that's great, they're not going to read it.
No.
I'm not going to sit down and do 20 pages of homework on your character. It's not happening. You give me a page, I might read it.
I mean, to be honest, I was that player. You know,
I know.
I was that player that, okay, I'm building a character. Here's 4 pages about how they did this and how they did that and everything.
Here's 4 pages on ages 1 through 3.
Yeah, and you know, I basically made up places, I made up people, I made up this whole thing, and this was way before I GM'd. This was like first character shit, and even when I began GMing, I would be quite adamant. All right, I need you to give me a backstory for your characters. And I very quickly found out that it's a bit of a pointless endeavor because, you know, I'll get these pages and pages and pages. Whereas I had more fun with the people that were I won't say vague, but gave me very broad brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And said, okay, so yeah, this is my character. They grew up here. I imagine something happened to their parents and we went adventuring.
Yeah.
During the course of the campaign, I have then kind of revisited that and kind of gone, so let's talk about your parents.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them. Let's kind of flesh this out a bit. And it's been a lot easier for me to cherry pick.
Exactly.
You know, as opposed to going through this wall of text, kind of going, oh, what was that fucking name again that you mentioned once?
Who was that best friend at school? Like, what was his fucking name? Like, and again, that's why I think having something like this, right, like a little questionnaire that they just fill in as their character, essentially, right?
Yeah.
You can stick that in your DM notes, right? And then if you need to know about, that best friend that they had a falling out with the school, it's going to be in their big events.
Yeah, exactly. And when it
you just got these perfect little things laid out that you can then reference when you need to.
Yeah, and not only that, but it can also prompt a conversation with the player.
Exactly.
Not necessarily to give anything away, but just to kind of go, look, I'm thinking about doing something with your character. I'm thinking about tying them in somehow.
Yeah.
This part of your backstory, this period, you know, can we look into fleshing that out a bit? Here's my thoughts. And you kind of go back and forth with your player to create a compelling narrative for the campaign as a whole. And it also gives the player a sense of ownership.
That's exactly the word I was about to say.
You know, this part of the campaign is me.
Yeah, it's for them. They've shaped that.
I mean, the current arc that I'm running, the whole murder mystery thing, is taking place in a city that it was frequented massively by one of my players' characters.
Yeah.
His character is essentially a diplomat. So I basically went, right, okay, I want to do something in your city. I want to do something in there. And, you know, let's just talk to me. And I asked him questions about, you know, what do you think he did there? You know, here's the structure of the government. Where do you think he kind of fitted? You know, the questions that I was asking were very vague.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm writing feverishly. So essentially, I made his office a fantasy copy of the West Wing. You know, all the characters that he interacts with, they're all based on a character from the West Wing, which I'm currently watching and thoroughly enjoying. So it kind of works out well. But yeah, that wouldn't have happened without my players' input.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree that getting into the mindset of the character is important. I think that exercise that you've brought to the table today is a very good way to do that.
Oh, glad you liked it.
Yeah, definitely. I liked playing that game as well. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's something, you know, it's something that I really like with it as well, because it also kind of, in doing that, because I've had some character concepts where I think it's a really cool character, but once I've gone through this exercise, I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. So maybe I'll bench that character because I don't think it's going to fit well with this campaign or this, you know, this setting or whatever, right? So during that session 0, obviously, you know, everyone uses their session 0 for different things, right? What I've always kind of used it for is kind of to set the tone, set expectations, and kind of let people know not only what they're expecting of me, but what I'm expecting of them, right?
Yeah.
So after that, if I go through this questionnaire and go, I don't think that character is going to meet those, then I'm not going to play that character in that setting because it's not right. And I'll try and either rework it. Maybe if I tweak this or change that, it'll work. Or if it's just not going to work at all, and I don't want to change what I've got because I really like the concept and the character, then I'll bench that character and save it for another session. I mean, my D&D Beyond, I've got so many characters in there that I haven't played yet, just because I'm waiting for the right setting to play them in, you know. And once I find it, then they're going to slow in. I mean, I've got what's that? 9, 12, 15 characters benched ready to go.
Only 15.
No, those are the ones I haven't deleted.
All right, because
I make like 30 characters a day.
because when I kind of first got my hands on Hero Lab Pathfinder First Edition, it was non-stop.
Oh yeah,
and it was. I mean, it wasn't only creating the characters that I actually genuinely wanted to play. It was let me see what I can do with this shit.
Yeah.
Let me
well,
see
I mean,
if I can
that's
build
how a lot of them happen.
Cloud from Final Fantasy.
I've done that.
Couch was building
Sephiroth.
He did Sephiroth.
Yeah,
and he also
he
did
built
Tifa,
Sephiroth.
didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So
I've built a few video game characters. I've built Kirito. I've built and played Kirito.
Nice.
I think that was actually in Pathfinder. I built and played Kirito. And then in the role playing group that Scott back in episode 1 spoke about, that we've got the role playing society in and around here. I played. I think that's actually where I played Kirito. Was in that.
That's fair.
In a game there, because what's really nice with that whole society, right, is the way that they work is they work on cycles.
Yeah.
So a cycle is essentially 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can have a 1 cycle game, a 2 cycle game, 3 cycle game. I think they go the most they'll do is like 4 cycles.
Yeah.
For your game, but what it means is basically every 4 weeks there's a new game to hop into. So you can play a game of 5e, and they're not all 5e. Like they'll bring different systems to the table and all that sort of thing, which is really cool.
Yeah, I know the person running it, and he does like a multitude of systems. Yeah. And the only reason I don't go is because I already run a game on a Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only reason I don't go is I don't have Wednesdays free. I don't have every Wednesday free. I only have every other Wednesday free, which is why I don't go anymore. But I used to love it when I went. It was so much fun. But it's just the ability to hop in, for a couple of weeks and then, okay, that system's over or that game's over, or whatever. That system looks pretty fun. I'll hop into that one. And then you do also have some of those campaigns that just run a little bit longer, and it's just really cool. And it's also where I first tried my hand at DMing. I wrote a short homebrew campaign that ran for a couple of weeks, and it was a lot of fun.
It is fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a GM so much now that I struggle to go back to playing.
See, I still prefer playing. Like I like GMing, but there's just something about being the player and throwing that monkey wrench into plans, and you can see when you do it as well. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that when I'm a player, I've got a lot of free time that I kind of don't know what to do with myself. So being a GM, like every round of combat, I need to be paying attention to what everybody's doing and what I'm going to do, and kind of plan out my sort of next move, etc., etc. But when I'm a player, I'm literally focusing on one character. So I've got just this extra amount of time while everybody's taking their turns, going, just
do what I'm doing. Play 2 characters at once.
Yeah, but for that I might as well just carry on GMing.
Well, that's what I'm doing in my current game. I'm playing 2 characters at the same time. I'm playing my Wild Magic Barbarian and my Twilight Cleric. So yeah, I get 2 turns in every combat.
So struggling to get into the mindset of one character was bad enough, but now you're going to do it in 2.
Well, it was actually a lot easier with these 2 because one of them is just an absolute moron. So I just get to be myself. And the other one is basically, so my cleric, he's a halfling cleric of the Twilight Domain. He's former military, and he just refers to everyone as a child. He just talks down to everyone as if they're a child. He refers to them as children, treats them like children, and if they start getting snippy at him, he just doesn't heal them.
That sounds like my sort of character.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. I love him. And like, and this is the best bit. Like, if they're being like shitty to him, and he's not healing them as like to teach them a lesson, when they get down, then he brings them back up. His go-to is, and what did we learn? And if they don't answer correctly, he lets them get downed again. And then he brings them back. And what did we learn? Until they give him the right answer. And then he saves them.
I like that. I do like that concept. That's
He's great. I love
fun.
him. Yeah. He also he's wearing a ring of mind shielding that's inhabited by a tiefling that he was adventuring with prior to this campaign. Who the tiefling that inhabits it is actually run by one of the other players.
Right.
So we have a WhatsApp group similar to the Giant Speak group that we had in our first campaign. So we've got a WhatsApp chat, which is basically me, this player, and the DM, where they will just send me random messages, and this is messages that are happening in the character's head, because obviously you could hear the person that inhabits the ring. They have a telepathic link to you.
Yeah.
Right? So while he's just out doing stuff, this holy man who's in a party with Celestial. So one of the party members is an Aasimar, right? Who is actually run by the same person who runs the tiefling that's in his head. So he's walking around with a literal angel on one side of him and a demon in his head. It's just top tier, because like whenever the angel says anything, shortly after I'll get a message on that WhatsApp of the like demon saying like, well, this fucking angel's up his own ass or whatever. It's just beautiful. It's top tier. I love it. But yeah, it's just a really cool character to play. I'm having a lot of fun with him.
Sounds fun. So, shall we go to a question?
Yes, let's take a question. Why not?
Okay, so we got one this week, and it does kind of harken back to a question that we got asked for our first episode.
Okay.
It just kind of, it kind of furthers the conversation slightly.
Interesting.
And that question is, what is the easiest way to introduce children to fantasy tabletop role-playing games? And that is asked by Derek from here in town.
Oh, well, that's a very good question, Derek. So the way that I've kind of done it in the past is I'll get them creating characters, just creating a boatload of characters, because one of the big things with creating characters is you roll a load of dice, right? Which, let's be honest, rolling dice is 99% of the reason that we play this game.
You're not entirely wrong.
The noises the clicky clacks make is what makes us happy. But no, like
sometimes a bit too happy.
Exactly. Unless you're me, in which case the noises the clicky clacks make me sad, because I know it's going to be bad. But no, so the way I've done it in the past with my ex's son when we were together, because he was getting to that age where he was starting to be interested in it. And obviously I played, my ex played, and a lot of our friends did. So he was always kind of saw it happening. So I just sat down with him a couple of times and said, hey, do you want to build some characters with me? Like, I'm building some characters. Do you want to sit down and build some of your own? And I just took him through character creation, like, oh, these are some of the races you can have. These are, and just kind of sat him down and just went through some of the options and let them kind of just have that freedom to explore, and, play around with stuff and experiment and see how it turns out, or what kind of concepts they can come up with. And that seemed to do really well. Like they really enjoyed that. And I actually still have their first characters that they made.
That's sweet.
Yeah, he made his first character he made was what was it? It was a wizard. I think it was a half-elf wizard, because he wanted to not be human, but he wanted to still have a little bit of human left in him.
That's fair.
I thought that was a really cool concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, he made a half-elf wizard, and the stats were bonkers. Like, he rolled insane for his stats. I think his lowest stat was like a 15. I was like, nobody's gonna believe that you rolled that. It was like 15, 16, 17, 17, 17, 18. Like, it was stupid. Beginner's luck and all that, I guess. But yeah, I would say that would be a really good way, is just find a system that you are comfortable with as well, because it's going to allow you to be flexible with them as well. Because if you know it really well, you know what can and can't be done.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, find a system that you're comfortable with, and then get them creating in that space. So just building characters and
Hmm.
creating their own little ideas and stuff from there. And then once you've got them to that point where they're kind of invested in one of those characters they've built, run them through a one shot.
Yeah, I mean, I never actually thought of that, and that is a really good sort of idea. That's yeah, I'll definitely try that with my kids. My answer to the question, to be honest, is you don't have to do much. I mean, kids are disposed to be creative,
rocks.
to be creative, to be
No, I know, yeah.
imaginative,
To use their imagination, yeah.
and as parents, and maybe not necessarily
Just
parents,
encourage that.
we encourage that, and we encourage it in multiple ways. We give them paper to draw pictures on, and stuff like that. So what I did with my son was we just started with an adventure. There was no dice, there was no random event, there was nothing left to chance.
Yeah.
But it was an adventure. And it was, okay, so what do you think you're looking for? Oh, we're trying to find the Dragon Balls. Cool. All right. So where do you want to go first? Oh, I want to go over here.
Planet Namek.
I want to go see Piccolo. And it's like, right, okay, you see Piccolo. And we interacted. We did this whole thing where I was Piccolo. He was his character, who was a ninja. And
nice.
There was no rolling dice. It was just a back and forth conversation. And then, like we discussed in episode 1, we tried it with dice. We tried the cipher-based system, No Thank You Evil.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. It is really good for kids. And he absolutely loved it, but that same sort of spark of imagination was still there.
Yeah.
And the only difference was it was given limitations at that point.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to do this. You can't do that because you are currently being grabbed. Oh, okay. I want to do this instead.
Yeah.
All right, roll the dice then. Let's see what happens. And he thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, we're going to be playing again soon.
Yeah, so I mean, something that you touched on there that I kind of wanted to just bring a bit more attention to is the imagination side of things. Kids, like you say, kids are just way more imaginative than most adults, right? Because we get to a certain point in our lives where imagination doesn't get like drummed out of you, but it gets overtaken by other things, right? We start thinking more logically because we need to for work or for uni or for various different things, unless you're going into like a creative profession. So kids are going to just be a lot more inclined to get involved with the story side of things, because those are the bits that are going to come very naturally to them. Like almost every kid universally loves stories, right? My daughter, right? She loves me to sit down and read her a story. And those kind of, that element, I feel kids are going to be a lot more inclined to gravitate towards. And then, like, I think your approach of bringing the mechanics in later is a good method as well. Yeah,
I think we actually answered that quite maturely, and
right. It's weird for me. I think I'm sick.
So we don't have any more questions. However, I did find something that I thought might be fun as a last little close to the show.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how real this is, but this is a question that appeared on one of my Facebook feeds, and I've tracked it down to its source. And it's something that appeared on Reddit.
Oh,
by
that's dangerous.
Somebody called Natty Bo Ace on there.
Okay.
And I thought we could treat
it.
We could treat it at face value as if it was a legitimate question, because I think it's hilarious. Okay, so it is,
Doubly worrying.
my players won't play unless they are shirtless.
Yes, I read this as well.
It's uncomfortable, and I don't know how to stop it.
I read this as well. Yes, this is.
So I have been playing this homebrew campaign in a sort of Conan the Barbarian setting. Most of my players are barbarians. It's been a blast, but at some point, one of my players said it's time to get serious during a tough encounter and took off their shirt while screaming in rage. They proceeded to roll a nat 20 to the shock of everyone. Then
Yep.
one by one, they all just got really hyped and started taking off their shirts, screaming. They ended up winning the encounter. It was a funny moment, but ever since then, they have been calling themselves the Beef Brigade, refusing to play with shirts on. I mean, it's cool that they want to get in character, but I don't really like this.
Yeah, it's.
Every time I tell them to not take off their shirts, they get upset. They all start to flex and tell me things like, "You can't stifle the beef," or call me bad beef. I just don't know what to do or how to stop this. If anyone has dealt with a similar situation, I would love some advice.
See, it's one of those things where if this is real, one, amazing. I love it. It's brilliant. At the same time, if somebody's not comfortable with something at the table, it really should be nipped in the bud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because something that we say it all the time, everyone is there to have fun.
Yeah.
And if one person isn't having fun, especially if it's the DM, it kind of kills that for them, and they're not going to want to play anymore. So, and obviously, if your DM doesn't want to play anymore, you don't have a game anymore unless somebody else steps up to the plate.
Yeah.
So I think for what it was at the time, really cool moment, everybody getting, hyped and everything like that. Brilliant. But every joke runs its course.
Yeah.
Right? And I think this one's run its course, and maybe they need to realize that.
Well, I think that is a very well thought out and serious, honest answer. So, yeah, here's my
You're going to
answer.
go the complete opposite.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of go on a couple of assumptions because obviously, A, we don't know if this is real. B, we don't know anything about this person or their table.
Yeah.
So the assumptions I'm going to make is A, it is real. And the other assumption is B, it is a close group of friends that know each other very well. And I think that, although your advice is 100% sound, I do believe that when people are that close as friends, I do think there is a lot of wiggle room to, the comfort zones.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I don't see why people taking their shirts off would be uncomfortable. But then again, I grew up in Spain. For 6 months a year, it's hard to find.
Everyone's got their shirt.
Yeah, it's hard to find us with our shirts on. So
I mean, it could also be because again, we're making a lot of assumptions here, but there is also the possibility that it may be all the players are maybe male and the DM is female, and it's making her uncomfortable. We don't know. So that is another possibility. Or, it's impossible to really make an accurate recommendation without obviously knowing more about the situation, assuming it's real, of course.
So
if it's not real, brilliant bit of comedy and we love it.
So once again, a very well thought out argument from Justin there. So
Yep.
Here's my thing. First of all, I'm again going on the assumption that you guys know each other and you are very, very close friends. If it's making you uncomfortable, 100% they're doing it because it's making you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I just know my friend group and my sense of humor. That is exactly what I would do. And I think the quote, "can't stifle the beef," is just fucking outstanding. So
I think honestly that quote probably is where I would say that they are definitely a close group of friends, because that's the kind of thing we would say to each other.
Oh, 100%. So here's my advice for this GM.
Get different friends.
No. See, my advice is make it uncomfortable for them. So
yes.
So in this group of friends, which and even, in any table, you will get to know the people you're playing with. But if you're a group of friends, it's even better, because you will know what people's quirks are. You will know what makes them tick. So what you first need to do is identify one of the players who is probably the most alpha male out of them all, and that is going to be your target. That is the one that you're going to target. So what you do then is you just treat them slightly differently to the rest of the party. And you do that by lingering a tiny bit with them. Maybe like not looking them in the eye. Just looking a bit south of the chin area. And when you interact with them, it could be like, "Hey, Scott, roll for initiative. Justin, roll for initiative." And then you go to the next player and you just make that one player slightly uncomfortable. Make them actually kind of start thinking, wait, is there something that is actually going on here? Because they'll notice it, especially if you do it subtly enough.
Oh yeah.
If you do it very overt, it's clearly a piss take. But if you do it just subtly enough, it'll give them the hint, and they'll kind of go, wait, am I taking this joke too far? And then the rest of the players will see that as well. Guaranteed, after one session, they've all got their shirts back on. Or the lingering is reciprocated. Brand new love story. Win-win. Exactly, win-win. So there you've got two very contrasting answers. Justin, clearly the sensible one out of the two of us.
Whoa. I don't know if that's a mantle I want.
Okay, let's just say the more sensible one in this precise moment. Fair?
I don't know if I want that one either.
I can't call you the grown-up. I'm older than you.
Exactly. Let's go with the one thinking logically. Let's go with that. I can wear that mantle. I'll wear that mantle.
All right, you are the Spock to my
Kirk.
That's the one. I'm the huge Star Trek fan I am. I think that's all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much for tuning in once again. If you want us to answer your questions, please get in touch with us. We've got a form that will be in the description for this very podcast. You can also email them to questions@toolegit2crit.uk. It is now live. Just send us stuff that we can talk about, and some of them we may answer sensibly and logically, like Justin, or some of them we just may go completely off the rails,
like someone else.
Someone else that shall not be mentioned.
Nope.
Right. Thank you, Justin, for joining me once again. Thank you to everyone who listened.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.